Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to Money and Sports, a brand new episode. Once again, this is our new show on Dreamerspro where we talk about sports and money and how these two things interact. And hopefully, during these episodes, you guys are going to get a lot of useful information from these episodes. So today we're going to be, talking about why NBA players go broke fast. That's what we're going to get into in this video today. So I want you guys to sit back and really enjoy it. Again, if you guys haven't checked out the Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you guys check that out. It's going to be at the bottom of the description below. We're on Spotify and iTunes, so you guys can go out there and check out some of our content there. But before I take too long, let me just go ahead and get straight into it. So there's a number of things I want to talk about, but and I'm going to tell you why this topic came up. So not too long ago, I was watching an episode on Speak for Yourself where CJ McCollum had recently had an interview where he spoke about how over 150, I believe of the 450 current NBA players live paycheck to paycheck. And they were asking, the panel was sort of going back on what they thought about, the comments that CJ McCollum made, who plays for the Portland Trail Blazers. So before I go any further, I want you guys to listen to what the former basketball player Jim Jackson said on the issue of NBA players living from paycheck to paycheck. So I want you guys to check that out, this soundbite out.
Marcellus, it's a great point that you made in regards to it's not just an athlete problem, but again, because we are athletes or former athletes, it's always going to be more in the forefront. So I'm going to follow up with that. I do believe what CJ is saying is true. Maybe the numbers may be a little different. He has a pulse on the league and what's going on in today's world. And it may be more, it may be less, but it is a part of the dynamic of not just what I would say football, basketball, baseball, but all those sports in general, where especially young players have a difficult time budgeting. And to your point, Marcellus, here's the thing. People think all of a sudden that you get this money and now you're smart. You got to know how to invest. Well, a couple of different things with that. One, you don't come from the background. I don't care if it's sports or somebody hits the lotto, somebody gets a really good job out of college. If you don't have the financial background and understanding how to invest, how to budget, how to save the money, how to do these things, and understand the language of finances, then you are going to struggle with an enormous amount of money at a quick period of time. I don't care if you're an athlete, if you're a regular Joe, I don't care what it is or who you are, you're not going to have the business acumen and the financial acumen to understand what's going on. You're going to make some mistakes with that. That's a part of growth. So it's always a tough dynamic. And I tell people all the time that now all of a sudden, like you said, Marcellus, you get thrown this money. Now you're making decisions for everybody. Everybody's coming to you for advice. People come to you for money. People come to you for a whole bunch of things. Now all of a sudden you're the smartest guy in the room. And really what you've done is just transferred over and got the biggest bank account. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden you have all the answers to everything else. And that's always been a challenge, not just like you said, Marcella, for athletes, but for people, young people who come into money all of a sudden at a young age.
Now, in his summary and basically in his thesis, what he's saying that an issue that a lot of NBA players, especially young athletes, because you have to think that these guys are in their early 20s that are coming into the NBA. Some of them, coming out of high school or right out of college, going into the NBA, and they're having millions upon millions upon millions of dollars being thrown at them, and a lot of them don't have let's say the background to be able to manage such large amounts of money. That's essentially what Jim Jackson was talking about. Now, for me, I want to take it a step further, and let's just go a little bit deeper into the numbers and why I think this is so, and how we can look for ways to avoid sort of these pitfalls that a lot of these NBA players that go through. Because again, let me just say, it's not just NBA players that go through it. I've seen a lot of situations where young people have made a considerable amount of money, and they just blew it off really quickly. So the first thing to pay attention to is, as I said before, and you guys may not be aware of this, the median salary in the NBA is $7.7 million per annum. That's the average salary that NBA players make in per year in the NBA. Now, obviously, you have some that are on the higher end of the spectrum. These are the max players that are earning well over $25-30 million a year. Then you have those in the middle that are earning around 18 or 15 to 20 million dollars a year. And then the further you go down, now we're talking about the bench players who earn a little bit less. For example, in another video that we recently did, I spoke about Josh Hart, who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, and he earns roughly $2 million a year, and obviously he lives in New Orleans. So let's get into some of the reasons why I believe that this thing is happening to NBA players, why they go broke fast. So the first thing is a lack of knowledge about finance. And again, this is the reason why we're deciding to start this new show, because yes, sports is all about being entertained and all of these great things, but there are a lot of life lessons that we can, glean from a lot of sports situations that happen to people on a personal level, where we can look at the situation that's happening and say, okay, how can we learn from this? What can we take from what we're seeing and apply to our lives to make sure we're getting better or not making the same mistakes that some of these people are making? Now, as I was saying, you have these players who come into the NBA, they're earning millions and millions of dollars. Most of them don't come from wealthy backgrounds. In fact, a lot of them are going to end up being first generation millionaires. And to be, a young person to have millions upon millions of dollars being thrown at you when you've never had that and no one in your family has ever had that is going to be something that is most likely going to throw you off your, throw you off your rocks, because you're going to be like, oh my God, I went from barely having a few $1,000s in my account to now I look up and I'm seeing I just received a $700,000 check. What do I do? And then a few months from now, I'm going to get another one. And for them, I can imagine it just blows their mind. And I think what happens to them is something that happens to us. We all know this. Whenever you get new money, it could be a paycheck, it could be, some money somebody's owed to you, it could be some money someone gave to you. The minute we get new money, what's the first thing we do? We automatically think of something to buy. It seems to be human nature. Whenever you get more money, for example, you could be sitting there and you look in your account, you may see a credit of $2,000 and you're like, okay, I have $2,000. Number one, your posture changes. You become a little bit more, your walk changes. You become a little bit more confident. You go outside, you see things that you can buy. All of a sudden, things that you weren't really on your radar, you start to think, maybe I can buy this. We can take it to a more basic level. We can talk about food. Maybe if you're in college, at least when I was in college, I was on a budget. Right, I was learning how to manage my money, but then all of a sudden, when one of my parents sent me some money, I was like, okay, I just got the $700. Hey guys, let's go out to dinner, or let's go out to the club, or something like that, because you have this new money. And I think that's the thing that happens to a lot of NBA players. When they get these contracts, all of a sudden, instead of just getting maybe a Mercedes-Benz, man, I got to go get me a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Instead of me getting a $1 million house, man, I got to go get me a $4 or $5 million house, because I got to be, I got to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. And there was a story where Kevin Hart spoke about once how he hung out with Dwayne Wade, and he was like, wait a minute, man, I can't hang with these guys. These guys are making way more money than me. I don't need to be hanging around them because I don't earn that type of money. Kevin Hart is someone that has learned, he has gone through some financial pitfalls, but he's also learned from his mistakes, and now you can see he's much richer than he was before when he started, because I think he understands financial management and he understands how to manage his money. I think the other thing that a lot of young people go through, especially NBA players, I think is this urge to want to just feel like I have to splurge. I'll give you a practical example of what I'm talking about. I used to work in a hotel here in Lagos, Nigeria, and I worked as a receptionist because I was learning hospitality management, which was one of the most critical places that you can work in a hotel is the reception, because that's pretty much where all the money comes in. You interact with customers and you really see how money is generated for the hotel. So I was working there, and they were what you would call these, what they call them here is Yahoo boys, but essentially these are like these internet scammers, basically. And one of the guys that was working with me told me, hey man, this guy just got like probably $200,000. These guys just came in, just probably got $200,000 that they just got. I know them, and they told me that's how much money they just got. They just stole, or whatever it is. I don't know how the hell they got that money. And working at the front desk, what happened was these guys came in, they rented out 2 rooms, they rented out the most expensive suites, and they were spending about, if we're talking about the rooms and the food and all of this stuff, they were probably spending about $1,000 a day. And they stayed in the hotel for about 2 weeks, spending $1,000 a day. And then what I was told was that the minute because I was there when I checked them out, the minute they left, the guy told me that these dudes, they're about to go check into another hotel and go do this for another 2 weeks. Now, that's what essentially happens when young people who get money that don't know what to do. You look at another situation where someone is a little bit older. You look at Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, I don't know, has made probably $700-800 million in his boxing career, but there's these whispers that always go around where people say that Floyd is now fighting. He's going from fight to fight, basically from paycheck to paycheck, because of the rate at which he spends his money. And that's the reason why he keeps fighting. With all the money that he has, he keeps fighting. If you look at Floyd, if you look at the amount of cars that Floyd has, it doesn't make any sense. If you look at the fact that, I think at one point, I'm not sure if he still does it, Floyd Mayweather, whenever he travels, he charters 2 jets. 2. What would be the reason for him to charter 2 jets? The first one is to carry him and his entourage, and the second plane is to carry his security. So if you're flying, and maybe the average cost of a jet flying across the United States, I don't know, probably 40 to 50 grand. You multiply that by 2, that's about 100 grand. So for every trip Floyd takes, he's spending probably about $100,000. Now Floyd is looking at his bank account and he's seeing $350 million in there, whatever it is, $400 million. He may say to himself, man, this money ain't going away or whatever it is. But then when you start taking into account taxes and all of these other things that we have to be mindful about, then you realize that the money that you have is not really as much as you think it is. I'll give you guys another example of something that happened to us. When we started working in Rome, Italy as consultants a number of years ago, I remember our first job that we got, contract, let's say the first contract that we got, and at that time we didn't understand anything about VAT, that's VAT, value added tax. We didn't understand anything about that. And remember looking at the first sum of money, like we looked at the payment, the quote that we gave the company, and they agreed to pay us, and we looked at this sum of money and we were like, wow, okay, this is all our money. Not taking into account that you have to pay taxes on that. So the money that you're looking at is not really your net, that's your gross. And all of these things, you get this false sense of wealth that you really don't have. And I think that's the reason why it's, a lot of NBA players are currently living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, you may think that that's something unbelievable, but it also comes down to your lifestyle and your habits, okay? There are a lot of millionaires out there that if you see them, you wouldn't know that they are. They're not flashy. They don't wear expensive clothes. If they do wear expensive clothes, you wouldn't know. Case in point, this could be a Gucci shirt, which is not. It could be a Gucci shirt. Now, some people will feel the need that, okay, I can't wear a shirt unless it's not Gucci, right? Some people feel like, oh my God, I have to show you that it's Gucci. And it's that mentality of feeling like you always have to keep up. You always have to show people that, oh my God, this is what I have. When in reality, most of those people that you see out there are not as rich as they seem. They may be going through some things and you don't know that, but you think, just from the outside looking in, that this person is wealthy, when in reality, they're not. They may be going through some financial difficulties and all of that. So I've spoken about some of the reasons why NBA players go broke fast because of their spending habits. I've given you some personal examples that I have gone through. I've given you some personal stories that I've seen other people go through. They've gotten money really quickly and blown it really fast. So now this episode wouldn't be useful to you if we didn't talk about some ways in which you can avoid making some of these mistakes. Now, the first thing is, it never hurts to have a savings, okay? It never hurts to have a savings. Whenever I get money, I don't care how much money it is. It could be $100, it can be $700, it can be $1,500, whatever it is. The very first thing I do, I take my own money out. Now, you guys may be saying, well, what do you mean by that? Take your own money out? I thought it's your own money. The first thing I do is I take a certain amount of money, maybe 40%, 45%, whatever it is, 30%, whatever it is, I take that money and move it to an account that is very hard for me to get access to, okay? And the reason I do that is, number one, I create a savings for myself. Number two, psychologically, I know that, okay, Even though I have this money that I may spend in maybe not the most responsible way, I know that I've taken about 30 to 40 or 45% of it and stashed it away. So at least I have a savings for myself somewhere. So whenever you get money, especially a lump sum of money, I'm not talking about like $20 or $100 or whatever it is, I'm talking about a good amount of money. The first thing you want to do is park it somewhere that you can't get access to it. I don't know, it can be in a CD. In my case, I just move my money into a brokerage account. Now in this account, I don't do any investing in stocks because I did in the past, but I don't do anymore because there's so much volatility in the world right now, number one. Number two, the way the economy is going, I don't necessarily know what's going to be happening with a lot of these companies, and I'm trying to look for a more secure, a more secure way of investing my money that doesn't mean that I necessarily have to go and put it in the stock market. I want to put it in things that I can understand a little bit better, because the stock market is just, there are too many variables. And so I'm just looking for other ways to invest my money. So one thing you can do is the first time you get money, just move it and park it in a place where you know at least, hey, I've taken a good amount of my money and I put it away. Even if you don't know what to do with it, even if you haven't invested it, at least is money not wasted. It's better off just moving it. The next thing I try to do as much is not to have a lot of cash on me. Okay? Try to avoid having a lot of cash on you. You may say to yourself, well, what's the big deal? It's just cash. The problem is, and the mistake we make is that just because you have a lot of cash on you, you don't realize that that money that you have in your hand is actually money from your account. But because you're not using your card and swiping your card every time, you don't necessarily think, psychologically, you just think, okay, I'm just spending this money. You don't track it as much. But when you have very little money in your account, what happens is you learn how to spend less because you're always walking around with less. Now, granted, I walk around with my credit cards or my debit cards when I go out, but I rarely carry around a lot of cash because it stops me from doing these binge spending, just go outside and see something and buy it. I try my very best not to do that. Number 3, and this is a really important tip that I think you guys can really benefit from. Set yourself some very lofty goals. It can be maybe you may want to own a house. It can be maybe you want to own a particular sports car. It can be maybe you want to get yourself a jet, whatever it is. Set yourself a goal, okay? Once you set yourself this goal, every time you start to get close to it, push it further out. So you always be aiming for it, but you're never quite getting there. And you may say to yourself, okay, why would you want to do something like that? Here's the reason why. For example, my dream car is a Ferrari. Okay, I like Ferraris. To get a good Ferrari, you're probably going to spend around $250,000 to $300,000. Okay, if I was able to accumulate $300,000 right now, the dumbest thing for me to do would be to go out and buy that Ferrari. Okay. Instead, if I was to be able to raise this $300,000, the next thing I'll do, I'll just push it out a few years. If I said, okay, I want to get this Ferrari by 35, I can get it by 37. So I still have that $300,000. I could have got it at 35. I'll just push it out. Maybe by 37, I have 600,000. Then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm still looking young. I'm still in good shape. I can still look good in my Ferrari. Let me just push it out to 39, 40. And what happens is you start to teach yourself delayed gratification. You get rid of this instant gratification of feeling like you need something in that moment. And the longer you can do that, the longer you're going to be able to build wealth and realize that some of the things that you crave, that you really feel that you need, you don't actually need them as much as you believe that in reality you can live without them. And what's going to happen is when you guys become millionaires, you're going to have a lot of money, but not feel this urge to spend it on a lot of things. You can have, millions of dollars in your account and really only need one car or maybe 2 cars for you and your wife or whoever it is, and not feel the need that you need to have 4 or 5 cars or a bunch of different things. So that's the lessons we can glean from this, from these stories that I've been telling you. Don't feel the need that you have to keep up with someone. Try not to spend your money as fast. When you get money, park it away in a safe place that you won't get access to it very easily, and just try to be as disciplined as possible. Don't look at other people and see what they're doing and say, oh my God, man, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. It doesn't really matter. It literally doesn't matter. As I told you, I like Ferraris. I drive a Hyundai Jeep. I go outside, I see some people in their Rolls Royces, I see some people in their Mercedes Benz. Yeah, those cars are nice, but I don't feel any sense of envy or anything like that. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way, but I don't feel like I need to have that right now. And it takes a lot of pressure off me to focus on other things like growing our business and other things like that. So before I talk too long, I hope that you guys found some of this information to be valuable to you. And I hope you guys can learn some of the lessons from what some of these NBA players are going to. So when you get your money, you're a lot more sensible with it and you're a lot more frugal. You make smart investments, but still have fun and take care of yourself and take care of your family, most importantly. So once again, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to check out the Dreamerspro Podcast in the description below. We're on Spotify and iTunes. And finally, what I want to know from you guys is I really want to know what you guys think about everything that I'm saying. If you guys are in a similar situation where you feel like you're living from paycheck to paycheck or whatever it is, or whatever you think about the content, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I really want to know what you guys think about this. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Be safe, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.